Talking Texas football here at the Voice of College Football. Please like the videos, share the videos out on social media. So if you enjoy the content, others will as well that have no idea that Texas Homer exists or that we're here talking college football every day. So share the videos out on social media and please subscribe. Head on over to Texas Homer and check out his work right there. You get a slice here, but there's more to dive into, much more on over there. People across the nation, of course, excited about Bijan Robinson, but there's more to the Texas backfield than just Bijan.
Absolutely. Bijan looked awesome in the spring game. He made an insane cut that I was trying to watch the tape so I could pick on the defense and see where they made a mistake, and they didn't. It was Bijan's cut was that impressive where I was like, there's nothing to coach you up on, man. You ran into Bijan. And you'll see, go look for that highlight. He cuts so hard that his arm touches the ground. He plants on his arm, turns, and then scores a touchdown. It was just stuff like that where you're like, wow. But we also have Rashaan Johnson, who's number 2. He came in as a quarterback for us, and our RB room was decimated, and he stepped up. And the fans love Rashaan, and he's a bruiser, man. He'll run hard. He'll run at people. He's not as natural as Bijan, but no one really is. But he's good when he hits his hole, and he'll fight for your third downs. His mindset's probably one of the strongest on the team. And then the exciting thing at running back was Gabe Watson. So he transferred in either last year, I believe last year he transferred in, and I hadn't really seen him. I've only seen him in practice tape. And he's scary. He's like 230 pounds, big kid. He has some movement to him. He was making cuts that I was super surprised. I thought he was just going to run down like a boulder, but he's a big kid. He was sharp. He really helped offense. He understood his lanes. I was really impressed with him. If I'm talking about like an offensive standout from the spring game, I would have to give it to Gabe Watson. And then, of course, our recruiting looks good there too in the next 2 years. So running back is really going to be a big strength for us. And it's going to be a run-focused team. Everything's going to kind of go through our run offense.
As you know, at times people look at the offensive line and just think, okay, let's evaluate the offensive line. Is it a good one or a bad one? And that's the end of the story. Well, they've got 2 basic functions that they serve, and each offensive lineman and together as a group, they could be complete mashers when it comes to the ground game and really struggle in backpedaling and setting up and coordinating against a pass rush. So you got the run game blocking, and then you get pass pro. Your thoughts about how the offensive line stacks up?
So our first offensive line, Hudson Card's offensive line, it was not ideal. There was a lot of missed assignments there. But as far as our number 1 guys in the run game, they looked great. Angle out, pulling on power plays and stuff like that. They knew their assignments. They were mean. Our defensive line is also very talented. And so they were going hard against those guys. They looked awesome on runs. We were doing power. We were doing counter, inside zone, outside zone. So we were able to kind of do everything that we wanted to do there. And every run play, I really liked it. They were getting penetration. They were mean. When they were pulling, they were getting their guys. Now, as far as pass pro, that was a little bit of a different story, right? So Sark's not a huge into drop back passing. There's normally some play action element or an RPO element, but there were a few just drop back passes, and I was always very keyed in to watch those, and we had a little trouble there. Of course, Coach K's defense is tricky. He's going to always loop and stunt people, so you always have to be ready for that. But we got beat a couple times on the edge, which is to be expected. Christian Jones at left tackle now is a newer thing. Andre Carrick is still growing. He's a talented player. And so I expected them to get beat a couple times, but they're improving. And there were good things that you saw there too. So luckily they're going to get a whole summer with Flood. I've seen some of Flood's teaching. I just really like his style and how he's going to coach these guys up. So I'm really not worried there. But if we were going to say, what are we better at, running or pass blocking? I would absolutely say we're a run team first.
And to round out the offense, Joshua Moore's back at wide receiver. A tremendous signing coming in from Michigan. Xavier Worthy, who was a prime candidate to go to Alabama, chose Michigan, and he's headed your way later. But for this current group, let's start with Joshua Moore and just your rundown at wide receiver.
Yeah, so wide receiver totally. Joshua Moore, he got back into it later in the game. He had that play action drop on the first drive, I believe, that, hurt Casey. Casey needed a touchdown, and that was his touchdown. And he threw a nice one, and Josh, when he hit the ground, dropped it. And it was a hard fall, man. He caught that ball up in the air, and he turned sideways and landed on his back. So I can see how that drop occurred. But that Josh really picked it up later on. The ones that I was more keyed into are definitely Jordan Whittington, just because you've been hearing how his spring has gone. And he was relevant in the game. He caught some balls for Casey. He didn't take over how I thought potentially they would try to force him to with play calls. So we'll have to see kind of more how they use him in an actual game. And then Troy O'Meary was out there as well. And that's the young X receiver that made a lot of noise in spring last year. He made some, there's like some sneaky footage that they filmed off the computer of what he was doing in spring. And you can see what he did. It was really nuts. And he got injured, hurt his knee, and now he's coming back. So he was in a black jersey, so they couldn't hit him. And they did target him several times. Casey had a little bit of trouble getting it to him, but there was one that O'Meary caught over the middle that you're like, okay, you can just kind of see it with him. He's your traditional X. He looks great. He's tall, athletic. And another thing I noticed about him that I focus on, the psychology part, is he was constantly running over his teammates and talking to them and trying to say good job and picking them up and stuff like that. So I was like, that's very important for his talent level to show that leadership. And even though he's young, he's kind of taking his spot there. So wide receiver definitely needs a little bit of work. We need speed there is the big thing. And that's why Xavier Worthy was a great addition for us. But like I said, wide receiver, especially Sark's scheme and how he uses them, he's having a little bit of trouble right there that he's kind of expressed in some pressers. So we'll see. There's always kind of that we do that at Texas. We get nervous about a position group, and sometimes when the fall comes, that's not a problem at all, and it's another position group. So and also there's a lot of psychology with Sark. Maybe he's trying to push that group by what he's saying, and stuff like that. So I don't know all that's going into the wide receiver thing. We have a talented squad, but it seems like they just haven't been able to put it together yet at wide receiver.